So today, we're going to tackle a condition that affects millions and millions of people all over the world, diabetes. And really, at its core, it's all about our body's, well, let's call it a complicated relationship with sugar.
And that is a fantastic question, isn't it? I mean, we need sugar, glucose specifically, to live. It's the fuel for our cells, our muscles, our brains. So how in the world does this stuff that we literally need to survive suddenly become the bad guy? Okay, let's dive in. You see, in a healthy body, keeping your blood sugar in check is this incredible balancing act. It's like a perfectly choreographed dance. And the choreographers? Well, they're two key hormones coming straight out of your pancreas. Meet the stars of our show, insulin and glucagon. Think of them like two kids on a seesaw, always working to keep things perfectly level. After you eat a meal, your blood sugar goes up. So insulin, our gatekeeper, jumps on its end of the seesaw to bring it down, helping your cells soak up all that glucose for energy. But if your blood sugar dips too low, it's glucagon's turn. It's the releaser. It hops on its side and tells your liver, hey, release some of that stored up sugar. It's this constant, beautiful push and pull.
Okay, so this is the part you really need to get. For your cells to use that sugar fuel, insulin has to act like a key. It fits into a special lock on your cells and basically gives the signal to open the doors and let the sugar in. Now, if you don't have that key, or if the lock is broken, then all that sugar is just stuck. It's floating around in your blood with nowhere to go, while your cells are literally starving for energy. Big problem, right?
Now, this is where it gets super interesting. When we talk about diabetes, we're not just talking about one thing. And look at this breakdown. It's wild. Type 2 diabetes, that's the big one. We're talking 90% of all cases. 90%! Type 1 makes up the other 10%. So what's the real difference between these two paths? Well, it all comes back to that lock and key.
All right, so let's walk down that first path, type 1 diabetes. And here's the deal with type 1. The lock on the cell, it's perfectly fine. The problem is that the body has literally lost its keys.
So why did it lose the keys? Well, type 1 is what we call an autoimmune condition. And that's just a fancy way of saying the body's own defense system gets confused. For reasons we're still trying to figure out, it mistakenly sees the body's own insulin-making cells, the beta cells in the pancreas, as foreign invaders. It basically declares war on the very factory that makes insulin and just wipes them out.
So what happens when you lose, say, 90% of that insulin factory? Well, your body starts sending out some pretty loud alarm bells. We call them the 4 polys. First up, polyphagia. Your cells are screaming for energy, so you feel incredibly hungry all the time. Next, all that sugar in your blood has to go somewhere, so it starts spilling into your urine. That's glycosuria. Now here's the kicker. Sugar acts like a sponge for water, so as all that sugar leaves, it drags a ton of water out with it. This causes polyuria, meaning you have to pee constantly. And what happens when you're losing all that fluid? You guessed it. You get dehydrated, which leads to our last one, polydipsia, this intense, unquenchable thirst.
Okay, so if there's no insulin at all, the body goes into full-blown crisis mode. It's a life-threatening emergency called diabetic ketoacidosis, or DKA. The cells are starving, so the body makes a desperate move. It starts burning fat for fuel like there's no tomorrow. But this fast and furious fat burning has a dangerous side effect. It creates these acidic things called ketones, and as those ketones pile up, they turn your blood acidic. And that is incredibly dangerous.
Okay, so that's the story of the missing key. Now let's switch gears and talk about the other 90% of cases, type 2 diabetes. Remember, this is the much more common path. In this story, the body isn't missing the key. The pancreas is still making insulin. The problem is with the lock.
And this is the perfect way to think about it. In type 2, the keys are there. The pancreas is working, making insulin. But the lock on the cell? It's like it's gotten all rusted over. The key goes in, it wiggles around, but it just doesn't turn properly. The cell becomes resistant to the insulin's message, and the doors don't open like they should.
And unlike type 1, which can hit you like a ton of bricks, type 2 is more of a slow burn. It develops over years. It starts with that insulin resistance, the rusted locks. So what does the body do? It compensates. The pancreas goes into beast mode, pumping out way more insulin, trying to force those rusted locks open. And for a while this actually works. But you can only keep that up for so long. Eventually, those poor beta cells just get exhausted. They've been working overtime for years, and they start to wear out and die off. And once that happens, with fewer keys and rusted locks, the whole system breaks down, and blood sugar starts to climb and stay high.
So, at the end of the day, whether you're missing the key or the lock is rusted, the result is the same.
too much sugar in the blood. So how do doctors figure this out for sure? Well, it all comes down to the numbers. There are a few key tests doctors use. A fasting glucose test is a snapshot of your blood sugar first thing in the morning. A reading of 126 or higher on 2 separate occasions is a sign of diabetes. But the one I find most useful, honestly, is the HbA1c. Think of it like a long-term report card for your blood sugar. It tells you your average over the last 3 months by measuring how much sugar has literally gotten stuck to your red blood cells. If that number hits 6.5% or higher, it's a pretty clear sign that the body's balancing act isn't working anymore.
And why is it so important to know those numbers? Because having high blood sugar over a long period of time, it's just incredibly toxic to the body. Seriously, it acts like a slow-motion poison, wrecking your blood vessels from the biggest arteries down to the tiniest ones in your eyes and kidneys. And that is what leads to this whole cascade of awful complications we hear about, a huge risk of heart attack and stroke, and serious damage to the eyes, kidneys, and nerves that can lead to blindness, kidney failure, and even amputations.
Okay, I know that all sounds pretty terrifying, and it is serious, but here's the really important part. This is not a death sentence. We have some incredibly effective ways to manage this.
And the way we manage it is tailored perfectly to the problem. So for type 1, where the issue is the missing key, the solution is pretty straightforward, right? You have to replace the key. That means lifelong insulin therapy. It's absolutely essential. But for type 2, the goal is different. We're trying to fix that rusted lock. We want to reduce insulin resistance. And the amazing thing is, the first line of defense is lifestyle. Things like diet and exercise can actually make your cells listen to insulin again. Then you've got oral medications that can help too. It's all about helping the body use the insulin it's already making more efficient.
So here's the bottom line. This is absolutely not a hopeless situation. While we can't prevent an autoimmune condition like type 1, type 2 is often a different story. And for people living with either type, the right management plan means they can get their blood sugar under control, head off those nasty complications, and live totally full, active, healthy lives.
You know, we've gotten really, really good at managing this. We can supply the missing key, we can help polish that rusted lock. But the really big question, the one that scientists are working on right now, is this. Can we go beyond just managing it? Can we one day figure out how to actually reverse the damage? To get the body's own perfect balancing act back online? That, right there, is the next great frontier.